Hey guys, I know I am not here today, so I decided to tape what I want you guys to do for creative writing. Um, so we are going to continue to work on our short stories. If you have your Chromebook open, if you would close it, this isn't going to take too long, but I want to make sure I have your full attention. So if you cannot see the smartboard, cannot hear, etc., please take a moment. Of course, if you miss any of this stuff, you can always replay the video because it will be posted on Google Classroom. The first thing that I want to bring up is the fact that we have a sub, so please basically treat our sub with respect. That should pretty much go without saying. If we look at the assignment that we had yesterday on Thursday, creative writing note short story 8 basic elements, whether or not you completed this assignment, if you did anything with it, I went through and I made comments about what you have done. I'll do this for a lot of your work for your short story. These comments do not need to be answered or replied to. It's just different things very simply to get you thinking about the different things that you wrote. So I would recommend taking a moment and looking at that. If you hadn't completed that assignment, but you had some of it done, I still went through and did that. So today you are going to be working on one thing, creative writing note short story 9, plot development. So if you go ahead and open it up, again, I'm going through this stuff, so uh, listen up. Sorry, I'm sick, and when I'm sick, my brain does not work right. All right, so this is to give you an idea as far as what your plot of your story is going to be. So it says, fill out the sheet below. It says, write out the first couple of sentences of your introduction, write out the first couple of sentences of your conclusion, and then it says, write a rough plot diagram of your story. Make sure to include all 5 plot elements. You can write that stuff below here, or you can hit edit, and it'll bring the screen up, and you can save it. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm not too sure as far as what my first sentence of your introduction or conclusion for your short story is going to be. Again, it's not something that's written in stone, but I find that it's something that can help begin crafting your story. And of course, it can always change. I just think that it's really good to have these planning elements, especially with the first couple of sentences of your introduction. I think that getting started is normally one of the hardest things to do. So just getting down something is a good way. And I know that some of you guys have already started drafting stuff, which is super awesome. Also, with the first couple of sentences of your conclusion, it helps you kind of wrap up your story about where it's going to be going. The rough plot diagram will just make sure that you're kind of covering everything in the story. As always, some of you guys are in different spots than others. So below this, it says, if you're having trouble with your short story, read the following document to help out. I've taught this class about 5 times, and I have made this so that even if you are having the most difficulty, I think that this is something that can really help you make sure that you're satisfying all the grade requirements. This is not an assignment, as you can see, and what it is really a step-by-step process about how to write a short story. You'll have all next week to work on your short story, as well as some other different assignments. So this is just something to keep in mind and to kind of help you out. We're going to read through this, and I'm going to be done talking because my head is pounding. So one of the first things it says is to open your build me a character sheet. Remember, that was what I talked about yesterday. It's really far down on Google Classroom. Go through it and build 2 unique characters. It doesn't matter if they're completely different from each other. Think about a time and place, write it down, and describe it in a couple of sentences. A lot of these things, as you can see, may not have to be related, because sometimes it's just about getting those different elements and then getting them to work together. Decide on what you want your point of view to be. Figure out if you're more comfortable in the first or third person point of view. I asked that question yesterday on an assignment, and it seemed like a lot of you guys were like, hey, I like first person more, or hey, I like third person more, and that's good. That's what you really need to figure out. Think about what conflict you want to have in the story that could involve the 2 characters that you made, or just a conflict that you can think of in general. And then looking at the outline as far as the story goes, this is how I would recommend you set it up. Your introduction, this is the first part of your story, should include your character, setting, point of view, and introduce the conflict in this part. Your body, that's going to be the main part of your story. This is where you want the characters to fight about the conflict. You can also add new characters and new settings. At the end of the body, you almost want the conflict to be resolved. You should also look where you can include dialogue as part of the requirements of this writing project. Conclusion. This is where you are going to wrap up your story. You should make sure the conflict is resolved. You also want to tell what happens to your characters. You want to make sure that the story is completely resolved and that you have no random loose ends to confuse the readers. After reviewing the above outline, make a rough plot diagram like we did in class. Make sure to include the 5 plot elements. You don't need to go into as much description because this is just a rough copy. Make sure you know how your conflict will resolve. Begin writing your story. You want to introduce your characters, the setting, and the conflict. Make sure to include good descriptions of everything. And that's what you'll see on my comments a lot. I'll be like, hey, and I know that you guys, like I said, I just want it to be down on paper. So again, um, if you didn't have a good description, I wrote down certain things that can make you think about how to make a better character. You can start with once upon a time or something similar, like your character waking up being surrounded by their setting. I have like 12 zombie apocalypse, like 12 zombie apocalypses, and like another like 14 romances, which is cool. Just make them unique and cool. Begin working on your body. You don't necessarily have to have your introduction finished. In this part, you want to escalate the conflict to the point where it's solved by the end of the body. This can be done in many ways depending on your conflict. Work on your conclusion. This is where you want to solve your conflict completely. You want to make sure that you explain the endings for all your characters. Also, you need to come up with an ending that brings your story together. Combine all the above parts. Fill in all the parts so you can add greater description or any of the requirements of the assignment that you're missing. Don't be afraid to change things. Check everything over. Take time, and if you have questions, ask me. Again, that's just if you're having trouble. A lot of you guys are in different places with this. And I'll talk to each and every single one of you individually when I come back on Monday. Um, if you finish with this assignment, the creative writing, note, short story, plot development is your assignment for today, then you need to look at other things that you can work on, whether it is an assignment that you're missing for the class or something else in general, but you need to make sure that you're quiet and that you are being respectful of others. I will be back on Monday, except for if this is third block, at which point you guys will have a sub, I think, again, because I have a class I need to go to. If you have any questions, you have my email, you have my number, you can share things with me. Again, you need to work on and finish this today. This assignment can change, or this, the things that you write about can change. Next week, you'll be having more time in class to write your short story. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. I will see you guys soon, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. If you brought in grade sheets, make sure to put them on my desk, and pretty much open up your Chromebooks and get to work. I hope you did the warm-up.